Okay, guys, welcome back. Marcio here again. So let's continue our work in our scene with some more blueprints. Okay, we're now here in a new chapter, chapter 14, and you've made it this far. Well done. Let's keep going though. We're going to look at material changes specifically in this chapter. The changes to materials that we can make with the first person character, okay? Interactive. So, for example, you can walk around in the scene, you come up to an item, and it gives you the settings that you can use to change the look of the material. Okay, so we'll talk about how we can get that done through some widgets, and we'll go through the whole process completely together. Okay, so you can see it from the beginning to the end and how it's going to work in practice. This is a really exciting chapter, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. Then there's another type we can create, which is our color change for the actual material as well. So there are two different types we're going to look at. Okay, one for the material, one for the colors. But what we'll do now is we'll show you how to make the specific blueprint material. Okay, and we'll show you how and why certain things are used. Okay, so when you click on something, how we can get it to change and go through the variations that we tell it to do. Okay, so we'll do the entire process, and you'll be well equipped to apply it in your own project at the end. Okay, so we get started with the material changer, which is the most simple one of all, really. And in fact, I use this mesh to get started with the material changer. Okay, so this is our countertop, and we're going to start changing the look of this. Okay, so let's do this. We'll create a blueprint from scratch in this case. So we'll just save everything first. So first of all, select your mesh, come here, convert selection to blueprint class. So another way to use blueprints. Okay, it's going to ask you a few questions, and what you can do here is just choose where you want to save it, and then you need to put in here the type of blueprint class you want to use. So I'll use the standard setting, and we'll create the components here. So we have the static mesh component already there, already laid out, nice. And here you can see that it's added it to our folder here. Okay, so I'll rename it because it has the same name as the mesh. So we'll name it kitchen countertop, BP underscore kitchen countertop, that is. So there's our blueprint. Cool. All right, so what's next? Well, from this point, we can start putting things together. So I'll make it so that when our character clicks on it, the material, we can change different materials on it. So to do that from scratch, we need to add widgets. So let's go here. Once again, the things we already know, we'll go through a little bit quicker, and things we're not so familiar with, we'll explain, okay? Just so we're not going too slow. So first thing we need to do is get rid of this. Okay, we need to find out when we're going to execute the function. So I'm going to do it when the character clicks on the countertop. Okay, I'm going to add a material changer at that point. So we use our blueprint interface in here, a BP widget interface. Okay, or interact. There we go. So I've added that now, so I can interact with things in the scene and add it here as well on the event graph. Cool. So this is our when. Okay. Oh, actually, I've added the wrong button. So let's add the interact here, and make sure you choose the right one. Go under here, add event. There we go. So this is the one that's going to communicate with things in the scene. It's the widget we've added before. Okay, so on here we just need to make sure that we've got all that set up first of all. And so here we go. Add in our character, or sorry, the static mesh component. Set material, we pull out from there, and I don't need that part, so we can just add the flow together as well. Let's just pull out from, yeah, cool. So that's good. So when I click on the item, I can change the materials. I can add materials in there. I'm going to use a flip flop though to start with, so because it only has two options. So I use In fact, let's use multi-gate, because multi-gate will give us an opportunity to use more than the two options we can add to them. Okay, so let's plug this in here. So the first one will be used for one material. Okay, and let's see, let's create a variable for it. I'll name it material1 and make it visible so we can edit it in the editor, and put it under a category, and let's call that materials. Okay, cool. Okay, so that's all sorted. So we've got a variable, we've got a material node. Cool. So option 2 is going to be here, and option 3, and we're going to link them out. So we can link 1 to 2 and 2 to 3. Cool. And I'll do the same here with the variables. Promote to variable, and we'll call this material 2. Make it visible. Same thing here. Promote to variable, and material 3. Make it visible. Cool. And I'll add it under the category as well for the materials, so they're all under the same section. Nice. Okay. And the static mesh is the same, so we can use this variable on all 3 of them. Okay. One thing we haven't checked is the index. Let's check how the materials are set up. 0 and 1. Okay, so the countertop and the granite. So it's 0. It's all right. So I don't need to change anything. They're all okay. So when I press this, it's going to activate the multi-gate, but it will make the 3 of them run and stop. So I'll enable loop. Let's get the loop set. So now I need to set up the materials, right? So I'll do this in the editor. I can close these for now. So we've got the materials here. Let's change this so it's a bit more visible. Just rename it, change materials. Okay, that's better now. Saves confusion. So now the changeable materials are below here. Okay, so let's add in here the materials that we want to be changed. So I've separated 3 materials already that we can use, 3 different kinds that are quite visibly different, just to demonstrate it. So we can drag them in, and that's going to be for the top. Okay, first one will be black, second one will be yellow, and then white again. All right, so we're just changing the top. So cool. So that's how I do the material changer. Of course, there are many different ways of doing it, but hopefully you've seen this is quite simple to put together. Okay, so you can just change the mesh that you want later and then have the same settings already set out for you. Okay, so you can use it on a wall, you can use it on sofa, whatever. Okay, so always good to create the first one from scratch. Okay, and then just change the mesh that you want to use. Okay, just rename it. Okay, so oh, and another thing, yes, do create another blueprint actor first. Add the static mesh. That probably would be better, wouldn't it? Okay, and then you can just copy the rest over. Let's see if it works then. Okay, so nothing's happening at this stage. So first we need to do is we need to check, see if there's a collision in our static mesh. Just make sure that there is. So let's go up to collision. Okay, so look, there's no collision because otherwise it would have said remove. So I'll add a box collision. That should be sufficient. Save. Now let's test it again. Okay, there we go. So I can click on them and I can change them. So what have I done? I think I've messed something up actually. Okay, I might have confused a few things. So I've used the interact widget, haven't I, here? So I'll leave it here because I'll use it later on. But I think I'll add character interact instead, not the other one. Okay, so let's just do that again. So that's, we need character interact, which is this one. Okay, yeah, cool. So now we're talking. Nice. Let's try it again. Okay, so there we go. So now it's changing as we want it to change. Nice, simple as that. Okay, cool. So we have a blueprint for changing materials. But now we want to take it further. We want to include our widget, just as we did for the lampstand. Okay, so it's visible in our scene that this is a interactive asset within the scene. So I'll use a simple widget. It doesn't need buttons for interactions. It just needs, the widget. So we'll reuse the one we did before. We'll duplicate it and we'll rename it. And in this case, we'll name it material 1. Okay, that should be sufficient. And remember, what do we need to do? The only thing we need to change is the image, because the animation is going to be exactly the same, isn't it? And this is where it becomes really easy now. This is where we get our quick wins and we start to pick up the pace, because a lot of the work has already been done. So we put in our icon. We just need to make it square with the same proportions, 70 by 70 I'm using here. And that's all we need to change. And you just test how it's looking in the animation. Looking good, right? Nice. Really quick, really simple. I don't need to change anything else here. That's all set up. Of course, I just need to add it now to my blueprint. Okay, let's compile and save. And let's make sure I include the billboard as well. So I add the logo. Add our logo. There we go. That can help us then put it into place. And I'll add it now to the widget. Okay. And I'll add it as a screen. Direct it to the widget that I want, which is material 1. All right, nice. So it'll run. It'll run like that. Let's push play. I think it's all set up now. There we go. So we've got our icon. Of course, it's a little bit lower than we want it to be. So we can just think about moving its position so it's around the center like we did before. So let's just adjust this. Of course, it's going to be trial and error. We might have to go backwards and forwards. And so let's have a look. Because we want it to be similar to the lampshade, don't we? So let's just, where's the lampshade? So we need these as well. So let's drag these down. And then what we can do is we can copy this. And then we can paste it in here, right? I think it's linked to something, hasn't it? Let's do it here. There we go. That's better. Yeah, up here is probably makes more sense. Okay. Cool. And oops, there we go. Right. So this is our widget for the light. Of course, we want to swap that out, don't we, for our countertop. Just make sure we make them unique to the mesh that we're using. And down here, okay, we don't have a variable there, right? So this will be, this will cause an error, so we just remove that. We'll promote to a variable. There we go. Promote to a variable. Call it my first person ref. And now we'll have to fix these errors that show up because we've made copies from something else. So let's just make sure we use the right variables. And when you copy this is normal to happen. You just have to relink things so they work. Okay, so we need is not hitting. Okay, but here we just have 2 to put in. Okay, custom event here. Nice. Okay, so because this one has the same name as in here, we need to change that. Get rid of that. Put that here. Okay, and this is the same. Okay, change that to there. Cool. Okay, so we plug that in. That's all set, compile, and there shouldn't be any errors now. Cool, so we can test it. Okay, so our icon popped up and we can click. Nice. So now we just need to adjust where the icon appears, right? Let's just pull that up a little bit. So I bring it up slightly higher, then there we go. Oh, look at that. Nice. Nice. Okay, so now if you want to, you can go left, right, up, down, wherever you want it to be. It might be nice actually slightly to the side because we're coming up that way, aren't we? It's all about these little fine touches now, isn't it? Okay, so nice. When we hover over it, it shows up. When we don't hover, it disappears. And that's nice. Awesome. So we made that pretty quick, didn't we? So this is the first class where we address a simple material change that we've created with an existing mesh in the scene. Okay. Now, I don't like to do it this way, but I just want to show you that this is a quick way of doing it. But there are better ways. Okay. So I like to create it from scratch though, because it gives us opportunity to understand things and go through the workflow and the routine. But we can do it another way. That might be better for you, but at least you start to see the different options. Okay. We've also made all of these visible so that we can edit them as well and reuse things in the editor. That will help us in the long run. But for now, this is it for this video. Let's comment on this one. We'll call this change material because exactly that's what it does. Great. And cool. So I think that's good. That's everything we did on the lampshade that we copied and we pasted in here, and then we reset the variables because they were getting a bit confused, weren't they? Because you just have to make them unique to the mesh that you're doing. Okay. So in this class we saw the materials, how they work with the blueprints to make them changeable. And in the next class, we'll see a new kind of material change. See you then.